Hey guys, this is Eve. Thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. This channel is dedicated to exploring various topics of the metaphysics, looking at them from a very occult standpoint. I tell people that my videos are for a very small fraction of the world's population that referred to in the Bible as 144,000. So if you are an RH negative, if you're part of the 144,000, you're RH negative, you're 15% or less of the world's population. If you are black RH negative like me, then you're 4% or less, okay? So very rare, if you will, but I wanted to just do an update concerning me. I don't think I'm going to do a very long video, but I just wanted to show my face, and I wanted to, be able to kind of fill you in on some things I've been doing and some psychic things I've been getting spiritually, especially concerning a soul that I call Master Yeshua. This soul has really been walking with me for, I don't know, like the past maybe like 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks, like really at the forefront. Okay. And so, I really wanted to kind of put some things out there concerning him. And hopefully this, some of the stuff I have to say will make sense, to him, that maybe he will be able to, I don't know, take the information and somehow, apply it to his life in some type of way. I really just don't know. Okay. I'm just the messenger here, although on a superficially speaking, I look like God and I'm imparting the knowledge. But, as clairvoyants, we really get the knowledge from the people that we give it to. It's just that we get it from their subconscious. And so everybody has a subconscious mind, okay? Everybody takes the mark of the beast when you come here. And so you're under restriction with laws, rules, and societal norms that you have to follow. And, when you go to sleep at night, you escape to the astral plane to release those restrictions. And so I can actually within the physical realm, I have connection to the astral aspect of people, their subconscious, okay? They're beasts, whatever you want to call it. So some beasts are bigger than others, or what have you. And so Master Yeshua has a huge beast, okay? And I'm laughing to stop from crying, to keep from crying actually, but it's a major concern. It's a major concern for me. And so a lot of times, like when I have like major concerns, I dissociate. So I kind of like laugh or smile. Like I can go into people's records and see like, people getting murdered or raped or whatever the case is. And I may even like laugh at it. And it's not that I'm laughing because of the fact that I think it's funny, but I'm laughing because I'm trying to put a barrier between my ego and this dissociative aspect of myself that needs to pull information out of people's records in order to give it to them in their physical waking state and for them to be able to make sound decisions in their lives, okay? But as far as me is concerned, same old in terms of being stalked everywhere, surveillance everywhere, followed everywhere. I don't have a place to live anymore. I mean, the place that I was at stopped renting to me for no reason. And I was just said to myself, like, this is bullshit. But the elite, they have me as a target. And so they're like, okay, well, either you fuck me with my lazy dick on my big dick sheets, or, you actually, degenerate into just being somebody that has nothing, and we glorify in your iniquity. You know what I mean? So it really goes to show that the people that I was sold to really are nothing, really. They're really disgusting, pathetic desperates that don't deserve to be fucked. You know what I mean? So, for somebody to be able to do something like that to you, to say, well, we own the banks and we own the establishments that you go to, the businesses, we can pull strings, this and the other. It really just go to show that they're degenerates, to actually destroy someone's life, destroy someone's livelihood, prevent them from having a place to live for no reason. That's sick. It really is. And then for you to present your shitty dick to them like that's some type of reward, to say, well, you're fucking the person that owns the social medias and owns the banks, and so, you're fucking someone important. That's not a real fuck. You know what I mean? That is what we call a trick. It's not a treat. You see what I'm saying? That's psychological. Like when I got to think about the fact that, when I'm fucking you, you own the YouTubes. That's psychological. That's nothing to do with my root and my soul. My solar plexus, willful desire. You see what I'm saying? And so, you know, the elite have definitely placed sex in the psyche, which is, you know, you're perverting it. Like Sadhguru, I remember he said this and it stuck with me. One of his teachings, he said, sex is for the body, it's not for the mind. Once you put sex into the mind, you've perverted it. And so they definitely are a perversion. They use MK Ultra, which you would call monarch programming, in order to have sex with people, because people do not have a natural inclination to fuck them. Okay, so it's like, you know, I see all these different things or whatever when, you know, when it comes to the black community, because there's so many different like psyops programs to destroy the black community. One of them is like natural hair. It's so funny. I'm wearing my natural right here today, but no natural bitch and no unnatural straight hair fucking blonde bitch would want to fuck a piece of shit elite like this. Like nobody. So the people that create these campaigns and the people that, you know, do these things or whatnot, they're really degenerates. Like, they're really worthless. They're really worth nothing. And so the people who are, you know, paid to follow me, disenfranchise me, and it's not that I think people are just paid, but I think people are definitely intimidated as well. You know, you better do this, you better fuck her over so I can bring my shitty dick to get fucked and say, I'm here for you. You know what I mean? Like, do you need a friend? Do you need family? Do you need a place to live? You know, that person really is the needy one. They need pussy on their raggy dick. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? And so if I were to do something like that, I would be judged and ridiculed, right? But these people, they do far more worse than what we do. And so, you know, they're not judged because they quote unquote own the world. They're very disgusting. They need to be exposed. And the elite, you know, they can't even, you know, practice debauchery amongst themselves without having masks on. It's like, damn, you got to have a mask on among your fucking brethren, yet you have the nerve to actually prostrate my ass in front of everyone. And you have to go through so much in order to do so. You know, like, you have to go through so much to destroy me. And I just say to myself, like, really, this makes no sense. Like, you have to go through so much to make sure I don't have a place to stay. It's funny because I went to a hotel. I made a reservation before going to that hotel. And so when I went to the hotel, they were like, well, we see your reservation, but we don't have any availability for you. I was like, how is that? You can't make a reservation without having availability first. We don't have it. Okay, so I go to another hotel. Same day, maybe a mile down the road. And I made a reservation before going there. We don't have any availability, but I have a reservation number. I made this reservation before coming here. We don't have anything, right? Now, fast forward, what is it? Maybe a few weeks. Actually, I want to say no, it was within that same week or what have you that, you know, I went to the second hotel, made a reservation. They said they didn't have any availability according to my reservation. Well, come to find out, I was on my lunch break at work, so I came back to the hotel to, you know, to get lunch or whatever, instead of, because it was within walking distance of my job. And so I was like, okay, well, let me just come back, you know, get lunch or whatnot. These people are bagging up my shit in my hotel room. I kid you not. I'm like, what the hell are you doing in my room? Why are you touching my things? They were like, oh, well, your room was, because I had an issue with the first room that I was in. So they're like, well, your room was actually was given to somebody else, so we have to move you to another room. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, whatever. And so I didn't have enough time to contest it, so I was like, well, I need to go back to work, so let me go back to work or whatnot. When I come back after work, they had not moved my things. This was like 5 hours later. They said, we need to hurry up and get your stuff out of here so we can move you to another room so the person that actually booked this room could get it. Well, you still have not moved my stuff to the new room. And then when I come back to the old room, my stuff is still in bags and scattered all over the place. So obviously you didn't need this room for another person. And they claimed that they didn't have a number to call me to indicate, you know, what they were doing, but they did have a number. So there's a lot of psychological breaking you down. You know, same thing, a lot of things that were happening in Las Vegas. Same thing, you know, like when I was in Vegas and before I left, I made sure I didn't tell anyone I was leaving Vegas, not even my sister. I told no one. And they found me in Trump Tower, okay? I was thinking to myself, like, what the fuck is that? So they found me in Trump Tower, and the thing is that I was flying out. Well, I spent 2 nights in Trump Tower, actually. And I put a do not disturb on because I wanted to get some rest before flying out, okay? So they, as always, because they would always like harass me like on the strip or whatnot, because I used to live in the hood, so I was like, okay, I would go to the strip and go to a really nice casino or whatever on the weekends, just to kind of escape and have, like, you know, a little bit of time away and have some fun, right? Well, they would send housekeeping unannounced, and so they did the same thing here when I actually, before I flew out of Vegas to Trump Tower, sending in housekeeping. I was like, I didn't order housekeeping, I have a do not disturb, whatever the case, yada yada yada. So that was the first night that I stayed there, or the first day. The second day, the day before I was supposed to fly out, you know, I was like, okay, let me get some rest before I have to, you know, travel, whatever the case is. And they actually had someone call my room, and they were like, we have a phone call for from Charlotte for you. And so I was like, Charlotte? I was like, I don't know a Charlotte. And so I was like, whatever. And so I hung up the phone, but I was pissed because I couldn't get back to sleep. And so I called back down. I said, listen, I have a do not disturb. I said, yesterday you actually interrupted my do not disturb with housekeeping that I did not order, and then today you have an issue. I have an issue with you actually, you know, interrupting my sleep with a phone call from someone that I don't know. Charlotte, I don't know a Charlotte. And so they said, no, Charlotte works here. And so I was like, okay, doesn't make any sense. First, when the person called, the receptionist said that they have a phone call from Charlotte, and now when I called to actually complain, you're saying that no, Charlotte works here. That doesn't make any sense. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of what you would call psychological mind games that the elite play to actually control the victims that they have, their targeted individuals, and to break you down psychologically, to tell you that they own all the banks, they own all the establishments, you can't have a place to live, you can make a reservation at this hotel, you can make a reservation at that hotel, you know, you could, whatever, you know, you could try to do this, do that, you know, go buy a car, we're going to steal it, we're going to have the cartel dealership take back your car, although they have no reason to do so. This is all to get the person in a psychological state where their soul is taken away, so they can actually bring in what I consider to be an altered personality. Okay, it's kind of like, to break it down more so in layman's terms, it's like, say if you actually had like an animal in a cage, right? You put someone in a cage, right? And then, you know, a person in a cage, and you keep like poking them or torturing them and stabbing them, and you keep asking them a question like, do you love me? And the person is like, no, I don't love you, you know? And then you come back again, you keep torturing them, do you love me? And you say, no, I don't love you. But you keep torturing them and stabbing them, and so eventually it breaks down the personality, and the person says that I love you, but they really don't love you. So the person doesn't have a soul. You see what I'm saying? The person doesn't have a soul anymore, because you have taken away the soul by destroying them mentally, physically, emotionally with torture. So this is what's happening to me. Very sick, very disgusting people. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants to fuck or fuck with these pieces of shit. They don't even want to fuck and fuck with themselves. And so they have to have people that, you know, hybrids that come in to fuck them and fuck with them. They're really worth nothing. And they are very much less fortunate. Although they have all this money and all this power, they're the less fortunate ones. And so they said that they're going to take away my life so I could be as less fortunate as their unfuckably disgusting Gucci and Prada assets. What did Gucci and Prada do for you? I don't give a fuck about your Gucci and Prada. I just want the stuff that I paid for myself, right? The stuff I bought, I work for. It doesn't matter. It's my things. You see what I'm saying? So, and it's not even free. So these elites act like, you know, once they take everything from you, right? And they're like, well, it doesn't matter. And we've taken her soul and sucked her soul out of her. So we're the ones that come in to restore everything and make sure we give you everything that you need and that you want. Well, I don't want your shit because of the fact that I have to work for that. Because fucking a lazy dick is actually a job. It's not a treat. It's a trick. You see what I'm saying? The only reason why you would seem appealing to me is because of the fact that you've taken everything away from me. If I have everything and you brought your lazy dick to get fucked and sucked, you would not be appealing. So therefore, what's the point? So these people are some type of unfuckably disgusting, degenerate bastards. They're really worth nothing. And they're not worth fucking a real royal. You see what I'm saying? With their cracked up fucking faces. But anyway, with that being said, you know, I wanted just to kind of put that out there, but I also want to talk about Master Yeshua, because this is a soul that, you know, I don't really have a whole lot of time on my phone, but I want to mention to this soul that he has been approaching me subconsciously for the past, I don't know, like maybe like month, like 3 weeks or so. You see what I'm saying? And, I feel like, he and I are interacting on the astral plane, but I am dissociating from him. And it's not him, it's not his ego. So this has nothing to do with his ego. I just want to put that out here. Like, his ego is very nice, very kind person, very well-mannered and so forth. And, he's a good person, you know what I mean? As an ego. Now, his astral body or whatever, not saying that trying to cast judgment on it per se, because I do get a lot of chastisement, and I do get a lot of judgment from him, his astral body. But because of the fact that I haven't been sleeping like I normally do, I believe that because I'm not connecting to him astrally, that this is the reason why I'm having such psychic activity as it pertains to him. Okay? And so I'm trying to figure out what we're doing on the astral plane, that I am checking out and forgetting. Now, the thing is that, I've talked about the astral realm before and how there's 2 different realms, right? We have the physical realm, and so the physical realm bursts the astral plane because we are under lockdown here. We can't do what we want to do, say what we want to say. Basically with the astral plane, with the physical realm, we have rules, laws, societal norms, and things like that. So we break out of those limitations on the astral plane. And so in the astral plane, I've been fully, given full disclosure about who I am on the astral plane, and how I'm a filthy whore on the astral plane. Okay, filthy whore on the astral plane. And talked about various people who are associated with me, even my own child. You know what I mean? And how we look astrally. So the thing is that I don't want to appear or come off as somebody who is passing judgment upon somebody. I'm not. But when you really are truly spiritual and you're really getting into the occult, you're going to have to erase your judgments concerning certain things that we consider to be taboo and physical and physicality, like race, like sex, especially sex. Like when it comes to Master Yeshua, sex is a major focal point for him. And let me tell you why. Sex is a major focal point for Master Yeshua because there's an aspect of his consciousness that's totally disconnected from consciousness, totally disconnected from what they call source, right? And so in a previous life, he was a Pharaoh of Egypt. I keep bringing this up because astrally speaking, I deal with this Pharaoh quite a bit. And the thing is that, the ego compared to that Pharaoh, there's no comparison, like whatsoever. Okay? And so because the Pharaoh is so disconnected, it is an entity that is very, very debased. You see what I'm saying? And oftentimes too, when a soul cannot find connection to itself on the physical plane, it will resort to what people consider to be or judge as deviant means, to get a connection, such as copulating, such as sex. Sex is a major part of disembodied spirits or disembodied souls to be able to find a connection to their physical self. Okay, so that's just it. That's why we copulate. We have sex on the physical plane, right? A woman, right, will get with a man because of the fact that there's, like, for the woman, there's the animus, subconscious masculinity that they have not found a connection to, and for the man, there's the anima, the subconscious feminine, that they have not found realization through their self-realization, right? So we will seek the other in order to quote unquote feel better and feel whole. You see what I'm saying? So, the matrix in, like the Roman Catholic Church, like, the church itself, they always try to make sex be something that is taboo and nasty and filthy and, is something that you shouldn't talk about and this and the other. But really, sex is a major way to find wholeness on the physical plane. And so because this aspect of him cannot find wholeness, on the physical, self-realization, it will seek to do that, to copulate, okay? And so, and forcefully so, okay? So, the thing is that I try to deliver information to his physical self in hopes that he will make connection to this self in order to stabilize his sexual nature, okay, on the physical plane. Because, you know, lately I'm getting a lot of psychic things in terms of him with a girlfriend, having a child actually with a girlfriend. Now, the thing is that at first I thought that this would be a good thing because of the fact that I've talked about and spoken to Master Yeshua concerning his what is it, his twin, and how his twin really is there to as a blocker. I call his twin and his father, he knows I'm in love with his father, but his father and his twin really represent people who are blockers when it comes to his self-realization. And so these are people that he's attracted and contracted with in this lifetime that represent certain aspects of him that lie dormant within him. And so he's going to have to be able to integrate those aspects of himself in order for him to find, you know, self-realization and to actually, you know, get out of the prison system that we're in, right? This is a prison system. And so he and I have worked together trying to, you know, trying to find ways to get through to the ego, okay? And I kind of lost my train of thought. Let me see. But anyway, so he was due to really, you know, get some really fucked up outcomes, right, in this lifetime. And so I was able to, I feel like with the work we've done, I feel like we have turned the tide. The thing is that with me working with him, because he's so polarized and it drains a lot of life force, I fucked up my own timelines. Okay, so, you know, like in my timelines, I had a certain trajectory of where I knew I was going, and it got totally fucked up because the elite are very much fucking me up. They have control of the banks, they have control of establishments, things like that. They, you know, surveillance or whatnot. So I had put things in place, knowing all of these things. I put things in place to make sure that I would not have to marry. You know what I'm saying? But because of the fact that I have been pouring a lot of my psychic, spiritual energy, chi, life force, into his channelings, which had caused me at certain points physical, you know, not ailments, but, you know, like physical bruises and stuff like that. Like I'd get bruises and shit like that. Channeling this soul, and it had washed away a lot of my outcomes. And so this has really worked on me, like, really, really horribly. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, words cannot explain, because this is actually dealing with my soul and my soul's mission and what my plans are. So a lot of my plans have gotten messed up, you know, and I'm, you know, you can say from a certain point of view, I'm human, right? And so as humans, you know, we want to be able to make our lives go in a certain direction, you know, but we want to help people. But at the same time, it's like, basically I'm like this, you know, if my life goes a certain way or whatnot and his life doesn't, and it fucks up, you know, I say to myself, like, how can I deal with being happy? Like, I can't be happy knowing that his life is not, you know, that he's not having a good life as well. You know, but at the same time, it's like, do I sacrifice myself, somebody else to have a good life, you know? And the life that I have is like, oh, I'll have a place to stay, you know, I'll be in the lap of luxury, but I'll be raped in the lap of luxury with people that I really would not want to associate with people who are torturing me so they can get fucked right. People who actually created these CIA, you know, doctrines to destroy me, like A Course in Miracles and the Complete Ascension Manual and all this shit to disenfranchise me. I mean, A Course in Miracles talk about you don't need money, but you have to have money to buy A Course in Miracles. And this is the people who created these doctrines to disenfranchise me, because I don't have any money, are the people who are actually planning to put their worthless, shitty dicks in my ass. I'm sorry. Like, who the fuck would want to sit with, dine with, fuck these people? This is a problem for me, Master Yeshua. You understand? So, sorry. It is. It's a problem. So, I love you. I really do, but I don't. I do, but I don't. But the thing is that I'm so sick of the fact that my life is being pushed in a certain direction, and I'm powerless at this point because I've wasted a lot of energy, spiritual energy, trying to turn the tides of, you know, the outcomes of other people's lives. And so, you know, I don't know, I'm really grappling with that. You see what I'm saying? And I have to have full disclosure. I have to be honest. You know what I mean? Because some people, like, when they're honest, you know, they're judged or whatever. And people, like, you know, we judge you, whatever for the case is. It's like, you know, hey, you don't want to help somebody, don't help them. No, it's not that. You know, it's the fact that I've hurt myself. Like, I've literally hurt myself in many ways. And I've opened myself, and this is nothing to do with his ego, because like I said, his ego is a great person. He's a great person. And I feel like, you know, the person I speak of, he judges that person, but he really needs to realize that person and to be able to dissipate a lot of this archonic energy that prevents him from getting past the Earth's energy grid, you know? I don't know. I feel like lately with his love interest, you know, I'm going to talk about this a little bit before I actually end this video, and I might do a part 2 to it, because I really, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of time on my video on my phone. But the thing is that Master Yeshua tells me that he is going to have a sexual encounter with his girlfriend, not his twin, but his girlfriend, that will result in having a child. And because of the fact that his consciousness goes away during the sexual act, the baby will be classified as what we call a Cambion. A Cambion is a being that is half angel, half demon, basically. And so Master Yeshua, we consider him to be an angel in the occult. You see what I'm saying? A good person, you know. And his girlfriend, from what I can see in his records, is a very good person. However, because of the fact that both of them really, you know, are very angelic in this realm, there's like a hovering. It's like there's like a shadow that follows them. You see what I'm saying? That overshadows their, you know, their sweet, loving, kind relationship. You see what I'm saying? And so, because the subconscious aspect of him, which is a Pharaoh of Egypt, does not have connection to him, it can come out during the sexual act. When it comes out in the sexual act, this girl is raped, actually. Yeah, she's raped because she knows that, you know, she gets it basically like this ego. His ego is nothing like the subconscious Pharaoh. So when this Pharaoh appears to her during the sexual act, she's gonna know that is not her man. And she's gonna be like, who's that? And so she's going to try to get away from him, but she won't be able to do so. And so it results in a tug of war between the two. So because his consciousness goes straight away. And she actually has a baby. And the baby is really, essentially not his. Really, to be honest with you. The baby is his ancestor. It is him. He is his ancestor. But he has no connection to the ancestor. So sex is a doorway for spirits to come in. And so this creates a problem between the two. And so he wanted me to convey this information to him and to his ego. And I'm not exactly sure how, because I felt like this baby would be a good thing in a way, because of the fact that he's supposed to have issues with his twin. And so to have someone in the world that's a part of him that he created, that he helped to create, you know what I mean, that loves him. You know, I feel like he needs all the soulmates that he can get, you know what I mean, in order to help stabilize him on the physical plane. But the fact that this baby is a Cambion, which is the child, this is his biological child, but spiritually speaking, this is not his child. And so it has the spiritual DNA of his ancestor, which is this Pharaoh that existed, you know, long ago, that subconsciously is still locked here in this subconscious. Like I said, him and his mom, you know, they've lived so many different lives. Like if they were exorcised by the Roman Catholic Church, they could speak languages fluently. And you'd be like, how is that? You know, they're Aryans, so they don't really have any melanin in a parallel reality. You know what I mean? Although they're appearing black in this reality. So their pathologies are not in accordance with what people would consider to be natural. Okay, like natural black people, like they probably feel some kind of way around black people oftentimes, or they don't feel like they fit in with black folks type of thing. But anyway, the sexual act is extremely important. It's extremely decadent. It's extremely intense. And so I felt like, when his channeling, basically letting him know that is important. So I'll come back with a part 2.